Hi friends. Our today's story is. The name of the story is The Brave Little Mouse. Once upon a time, there was a little mouse named Milo who lived in a big forest. He was very curious and adventurous, but also very timid and afraid of everything. He always wanted to explore the forest, but he was too scared of the dangers that lurked there. One day, he decided to gather his courage and venture out of his cozy nest. He packed some cheese and nuts in his backpack and set off on his journey. He was amazed by the beauty and diversity of the forest. He saw colorful flowers, tall trees, sparkling streams, and many different animals. He also encountered some scary things, like a big snake, a hungry hawk, and a roaring lion. Each time, he managed to escape by hiding or running away. He felt proud of himself for being brave and clever. He soon reached the edge of the forest, where he saw a huge mountain. He wondered what was on the other side of it. He decided to climb it and find out. He started to ascend the steep slope, using his sharp claws and strong tail to balance himself. He reached the top of the mountain after a long and tiring climb. He looked around and saw a beautiful valley with green fields, blue lakes, and white clouds. He felt a sense of wonder and joy. He had never seen anything like it before. He also saw something else that caught his eye. It was a shiny object that reflected the sun's rays. He ran towards it and found out that it was a golden crown. It was very big and heavy, but he managed to lift it with his paws. He put it on his head and felt like a king. He imagined ruling over the valley and the forest with his wisdom and kindness. He felt very happy and proud. He decided to take the crown back to his nest and show it to his friends and family. He thought they would admire him and respect him for his achievement. He started to descend the mountain with the crown on his head. But he soon realized that it was not easy to carry such a heavy object. He stumbled and slipped several times, hurting himself. He also attracted the attention of some greedy animals who wanted to take the crown from him. They chased him and tried to snatch it from him. He had to dodge and fight them off, using his teeth and claws. He finally reached the forest, where he hoped to find safety and peace. But he was wrong. The crown made him stand out among the other animals, who were either jealous or curious about it. Some animals mocked him and laughed at him for wearing such a silly thing. They called him names like the foolish mouse or the pretentious mouse. Some animals praised him and flattered him for finding such a valuable thing. They pretended to be his friends and asked him for favors or gifts. Milo did not know who to trust or what to do. He felt confused and lonely. He realized that the crown did not make him happy or respected. It only brought him trouble and misery. He wished he had never found it in the first place. He wished he could go back to his simple and peaceful life. He decided to get rid of the crown and return it to where it belonged. He took it off his head and threw it into a nearby river. He watched it sink into the water and disappear from his sight. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. He felt free and light again. He continued his journey back to his nest, where he was greeted by his friends and family who loved him for who he was, not for what he had. They listened to his story with interest and admiration. They praised him for his courage and wisdom. Milo learned an important lesson that day: happiness is not found in things, but in oneself. Hope you enjoyed the story. Let's go to next story. Press subscribe button for more videos like this now, and press like button and share this video to your friends now and enjoy.
Once upon a time, in a lush forest, lived a lazy lion who believed in getting his meals served rather than hunting for them. This lion, let's call him Leo, was not just a regular lion, but he was extraordinarily lazy. He thought, why should I bother hunting when I can simply command the other animals to bring me my food? So that's precisely what he did. Leo declared himself the king of the jungle and demanded that every day one animal must bring him food or else become his meal. This frightened the forest animals. They were already struggling to find enough food for themselves, and now they had to feed this lazy lion too. The fear of becoming Leo's next meal was so great that they obeyed his command. So, every day, the animals would bring him all sorts of food, from fresh fruits and crunchy nuts to succulent meat. Meanwhile, Leo, the lazy lion, just grew lazier and fatter, and so the cycle continued, with the forest animals growing increasingly thin and scared. One day, it was the turn of the rabbits to feed the lion, and they sent the smallest among them, a clever little rabbit. This tiny rabbit, though small in stature, had a giant heart filled with courage and a mind bursting with clever ideas. He knew he had to outwit the lion, not just for his own sake, but for all the animals in the forest. His tiny paws trembled as he made his way to the lion's den, taking care to stop at every bush and tree, formulating his plan. When the rabbit finally arrived at the lion's den, he found an angry, hungry lion waiting for him. With a deep breath, the rabbit spun a tale of a bigger, stronger lion who claimed to be the true king of the forest, challenging our lion's ego. He cleverly tricked the lion into believing that this supposed rival was waiting for a showdown at a nearby well. The lion, in his arrogance, decided to fight this other lion and show who the real king of the forest was. Led by the clever rabbit, the lion reached the well, ready to face his supposed rival. His eyes were ablaze with fury, and his heart pounded like a war drum. As he peered into the well, he saw a reflection staring back at him. He mistook this for the other lion, his so-called competitor. Roaring with all his might, he pounced, diving headfirst into the well. But alas, his arrogance and laziness led to his downfall. He floundered, unable to escape the well's depths, and eventually, he drowned. Meanwhile, the clever rabbit watched from the shadows. With the lion's demise, he had not only saved his own skin, but also freed the entire forest from the lazy lion's tyranny. The rabbit, small and unassuming, had used his wits to outsmart the king of the jungle. He returned to the forest, hailed as a hero by his fellow animals. And so, the clever rabbit not only saved himself, but also freed the forest from the lazy lion's tyranny. The forest animals rejoiced at their newfound freedom, all thanks to the clever little rabbit. This tale of the lazy lion and the clever rabbit teaches us a valuable lesson. Laziness can lead to one's downfall, while cleverness can guide us to success. The lion's laziness and bullying drove him to his grim fate, but the rabbit's cleverness saved not only himself, but his entire forest community. So remember, friends, cleverness can overcome even the biggest of challenges. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button.
Have you ever heard about the lazy ant? Take a moment and imagine an ant who isn't much in favor of constant hard work or the usual antly rush. This particular ant, let's call him our friend, has earned quite a reputation for his slack approach towards his duties. Instead of putting his energy into collecting food and building the colony, like the rest of his kin, he'd much rather traipse aimlessly through the verdant forest, taking in the serene beauty of his surroundings. He revels in the peace and quiet, loses himself amongst the towering trees, lush foliage, and the symphony of sounds nature has to offer. But as is the way of life, his wandering spirit led to an unexpected event one day. His aimless meandering brought him face to face with an enormous mound of sugar, a mountain of sweetness, located precariously near a human campsite. Seeing the sugar pile, the lazy ant was overjoyed. His eyes widened, spotting an unexpected surprise, a mound of tantalizing sweetness right there in front of him. The lazy ant was consumed by joy and disbelief. He pondered, "Why do I need to toil when this treasure lies before me? This must be my lucky day." In a dash, he sprinted towards the sugar hill, his tiny heart thumping wildly with exhilaration. As he approached, his eyes sparkled with sheer excitement, and he started to gorge himself on the sweet pile, each bite tastier than the previous. The world around him faded into oblivion. The sugary delight was all that mattered. However, his happiness was ephemeral. He had overlooked the sly trap cunningly set up by the humans. His moment of pure delight was interrupted as soon as his tiny feet brushed against the sugar pile. A net swooped down swiftly, entrapping him instantly. The lazy ant was ensnared, his moment of pleasure turning into a dreadful predicament. Alas, as soon as he touched the sugar, a net fell over him, trapping him inside. The lazy ant realized his mistake too late. A surge of remorse flooded him as he battled with the confining net. His heart raced within his minuscule chest as he frantically tried to break free, but unfortunately, it was too late. The humans, with their enormous size, arrived and hastily took him away, his cries for rescue consumed by the vast expanse of the surrounding woodland. Meanwhile, in stark contrast, back at the ant colony, his companions were a frenzy of action. They were engrossed in gathering sustenance for the impending winter, their small bodies working in a beautifully synchronized rhythm, diligence and unity. Each ant, duty-bound and committed, pitched into the shared effort, their tiny legs hauling grain after grain back to the comfort of their nest. While the lazy ant was trapped in captivity, consumed with regret and sorrow, his friends flourished. They had been thorough and dedicated in preparing for the cold months, and their nest was teeming with ample food provisions that would last them through the harsh winter. While the lazy ant suffered, his friends lived happily with enough food for the winter. So, what do we learn from this story? From this extraordinary narration of the lazy ant, we can draw an invaluable life lesson. The story has been carefully woven to present the universal truth that an attitude of laziness coupled with an insatiable desire for more can only lead to unnecessary complications in life. However, on the flip side, the virtues of hard work, dedication, and cooperation can act as stepping stones to a happy and fulfilled life. In the narrative, the diligent ants are symbolic of hard-working individuals who, despite the hurdles that may come their way, keep their focus on their goal and work relentlessly towards it. Their collective efforts and unity are what equip them to face any challenge that comes their way effectively. Just as the ants do, when we imbibe these qualities and work hard together, we arm ourselves with the readiness to tackle what lies ahead and hence can lead a peaceful life. Similarly, the lazy ant represents individuals who prefer shortcuts over hard work. The narrative paints a vivid picture of the problems such individuals may land into because of their attitude. Hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this, and do press the like button and share this video with your friends.
Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, lived a lazy ant. Unlike his hard-working brethren, he preferred to doze off in his cozy nest, dreaming away his days instead of helping his fellow ants gather food. He had a sly grin on his face, for he thought he was smarter than the rest. Why work when he could just take what he needed from others? One day his eyes fell upon a diligent bee. She was buzzing from flower to flower, her wings shimmering in the sunlight, collecting nectar and pollen with a dedication that was almost inspiring. But to the lazy ant, she seemed foolish. Why work so hard when you can take it easy? He thought. He decided to follow her, intrigued by her relentless efforts. As the bee flew from flower to flower, the lazy ant had a devious idea. Pretending to be asleep, the lazy ant waited outside the bee's hive, planning to steal her honey. His ruse was to appear tired and worn out, just happening to rest near the hive. The hard-working bee, returning from a long day of gathering nectar, spotted him. "Hello, friend, what are you doing here?" she asked. The ant, thinking he was quite the actor, responded, "Oh, I was just passing by and felt a bit tired. I thought I'd take a nap here." The bee, ever kind and welcoming, noticed his hunger. "You look famished. Why don't you share some honey with me? I have plenty in my hive," she offered. The ant's eyes lit up. "Thank you. You are very kind. I would love to have some honey," he replied, his deceitful plan seeming to work perfectly. Delighted, the lazy ant followed the bee, his mouth watering at the thought of the sweet honey. But as the ant reached for the honey, he felt a sharp sting in his hand. The bee had cunningly set a trap, covering the jar with thorns. The pain was intense, and the ant let out a cry, dropping the jar. It wasn't honey at all, but sharp, sour vinegar. The bee, with a stern voice, said, "This is not honey, this is vinegar. It's a trap for thieves like you. You're not my friend. You're a lazy, greedy ant who wanted to steal my hard-earned honey. Now you've learned your lesson. Leave and never come back." The ant, his hand throbbing, felt a wave of shame wash over him. He turned and scurried away, his head hung low. He finally realized the foolishness of his actions. The bee's words echoed in his mind, a stern reminder of his mistake. From that day forward, the ant understood that there was no shortcut to success, and he decided to be hardworking like his fellow ants. Hey there! Hope you've been enjoying our tale of the lazy ant and the hardworking bee. It's time for a quick break from the story. If you're finding our content engaging, remember to hit that subscribe button and join our community. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps us out and lets us know you want more content like this. And hey, why not share this video with your friends? Spread the wisdom of the hardworking bee around. Thanks for watching, and remember, hard work always pays off. Now let's get back to our story.